Hello and welcome guys. Now thanks to this commenter and the fact I've still got Warframe 1999 on the brain, I figured today is as good a day as any to get stuck into an arcade machine. I'm going to try to get through this fairly quickly, but don't worry about catching the names of all the decorations. In the description below I'll make sure there's a full list of items that are used. Okay, so the first piece we're grabbing is the Zariman Cabinet, in brackets it's the low short variety. I'm going to make sure this is scaled to be around the waist height of the Warframe. If you look at the flat top of that piece, that's where our controls will be going, so scale it appropriately. I'm going to grab another style of Zariman Locker. This one in the bracket says low long. I'm going to attach those towards the back and on either side of the Zariman cabinet we placed already. This is going to give us the beginnings of the shell of our arcade cabinet. Don't worry about the height of these decorations, we're going to change that when we insert the screen. And speaking of the screen, we're going to use the Zariman storage container lid. We're then going to sandwich that in between those side panels and just above the console where our controls are going to sit. And we can bring down the sides of the arcade machine to match the top of the screen. Now to add that little lip on top of the cabinet that you see in retro machines, we're going to grab another Zariman storage lid. I'm going to place it over the top of the entire cabinet. Now we're going to get onto some of the smaller details and we're going to start with this Duviri Flask. This Duviri Flask has a really convincing coin slot, and next to the coin slot there is also a little round hole that looks pretty convincingly like the keys to open the machine to get the money back out. The next thing you're going to need are some of these little Zariman cups, and they're going to be used to make the buttons for our control panel. Now at this point it occurred to me that the buttons and the top of that Zariman cabinet are actually really similar in color. So we need to get a little bit of contrast down to help those buttons pop. And the item I decided on using was the Solaris Toolbox. You turn it upside down, you can get a nice big flat white panel that adds a lot of contrast to that top area. To complement those buttons we need a joystick, and for that I'm going to use the Zariman T-Steeper. Just clip it right into the cabinet and then we can move on to the screen. Now for the screen itself, just check your inventory to see if you have any shiny glossy posters. There's been some given away in community events, that kind of thing. And the important thing is that it's glossy. If you use a regular poster and it isn't shiny, you're not going to get that fake glass effect. So it won't look quite as good as a glossy picture. Now it is worth saying up until now, this has been an entirely free build, as in it's all for standing. This screen, however, is the first opportunity where you might want to spend money instead and pick up a square display. The display obviously has the advantages that you can pick from any of the fan arts available. You can apply filters, change positions, change scale, that kind of thing. But more on displays later. For now, we're just going to add a little bit more interest to the front of that cabinet with the Zariman globe base. And one final thing, the only real free way to add art to the side of this, other than the free posters, would be something like Prex cards. Now, I don't particularly enjoy using Prex cards because you can't use constrained movement on them. They just turn red and then won't let you place them. This means you can't place them flush with the cabinet wall and there'll always be some depth there. Now I have a way around this, but now we're getting into platinum territory. Now to get the art to stretch around the entire cabinet, I need to do a tutorial. Within this tutorial, I'm going to talk about graphic matching on these displays. So the first thing we're going to do to make this as easy as we can on ourselves is take that first display, put it right up against the cabinet, size it, and then clone two more from this same one. That way they're all identical in size. You can then position them along the cabinet as I'm doing here. Don't worry about the bit spilling off at the end. Ideally, that's going to be hidden with a wall anyway. Next, you're going to go into each one of your images. You're going to select the image that you want to display. In my case, I'm picking this Zephyr Harrier skin. And then you need to decide what scale you want the art to be. In my case, these are all going up to maximum. But you might want a different scale. What's key is that all three are set to the same scale. Now it's time to match up these graphics to make them cohesive. So you're going to start with the topmost display. In my case, it's going to be the head of Zephyr. I'm going to position it until I'm happy with it in its frame. In my case, I want the head to finish just below the cabinet roof so that none of it gets cut off. I do want to make you aware, you can type in the offsets I can appreciate on controller, trying to get these accurate just with the thumbstick is kind of annoying. Now I'm going to move on to the second display, and if it's directly lined up under the first one like mine is, the horizontal offset will be the same number. So just input that. And then you can adjust your vertical offset until the blend between those two lines becomes seamless. Again, you can type this vertical offset in, and you can type it to 3 decimal places to get it really accurate. And then finally, the very bottom image. Unfortunately, there is no way around this. You do need to figure out both the horizontal and the vertical offset again manually. And with that, you're pretty much done. If you want to flip it on the other side, there is an option in the image picker to reverse the image so you can get a true mirror on both sides. Now, just to show you a quick demonstration on why I stressed that you use the same display for everything. Now, I could technically be a little bit cheaper by using a vertical display. But as you can see, if we place a vertical display and then set its scale to max, the same as the display earlier, you see the image gets blown out to a totally different proportion. And the take home from this is the settings that you put in one style of frame may not be transferable to another style. So just to save yourself a headache and to save that becoming an issue, just use identical displays all the way up. Now, the elephant in the room is that we have already in your orbiter a arcade machine called the Ludoplex. And you can clip and hide this inside the cabinet to give you a more functional cabinet. Just be aware that there is a bug. If you move the Ludoplex around your orbiter, there's a chance the prompt to activate the machine will disappear. Fix this, simply load into a mission. When you come back, the prompt will be there again. Have you been a member of the channel for any length of time, you know anything on here is for you to use. But what I really hope you do is take what I've shown you here and iterate and build and fill it with your own ideas. And this machine is really no exception. You got the obvious stuff like changing what's on the screen, changing it to 2 players, messed around with mine and turned it into a driving sim, which gave me a bunch more space for some extended box art. And if some idiot YouTuber talked you into building an Oracle motorcycle, and it's just kind of standing there in your orbiter, there's no reason you couldn't convert this into a motorcycle sim. Thanks to the flexibility of the decorations we have access to and the tools we have access to, the amount of creativity and alternate versions of a simple arcade machine that you can make is essentially limitless. Alright guys, that's all from me. Obviously like, subscribe if you want more Dojo content. Peace out. Catch you in the next one.